All right, folks. Well, Spencer Arrighetti gets called up. We're going to talk about that, talk about what this means for Framber Valdez and the update on him on this real quick and pop-in edition of Locked On Astros. Hey, Yiner, hit that intro.
Yainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
Hey there, welcome into a special edition of Locked On Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Astros for One on Facebook. And you can find me at Back to the Bullpen on iHeartRadio on all places where you can get your platform. That's right. You can check us out, Back to the Bullpen, on Instagram as well. Look, I'm always positive, always Astros, and I'm positive. I like the news about Arrighetti coming up, but I'm not so sure I'm positive the way it's coming about. We don't want someone like Framber Valdez to be down, but I'll talk about. And so actually, let's do this. Let's talk about Framber Valdez and what is going on, and then we'll go from there. Framber Valdez, we all know, went back to Houston with elbow soreness, left elbow soreness, after playing catch, okay? He did go on the injured list officially Tuesday. This is, if you're listening on Wednesday, it was the day before. And Joe Espada described it as left elbow inflammation, all right? And so let's just be exact about what exactly happened, and so you guys can get an accurate account of this, all right? Valdez felt discomfort in his elbow when he was playing catch. Then we know he was scratched. We know what happened in the game. He then traveled back to get looked at by team doctors and was actually unavailable for comment before Tuesday's game against the Royals. But Valdez is the Astros' fifth starter this year to land on the IL. Justin Verlander, we know, is still coming back. Luis Garcia and Lance McCullers Jr. and Jose Arrighetti, all who won't be back until mid-season. Verlander, his shoulder is why he was out, is scheduled to make one more minor league rehab start this weekend before coming back to the team. I believe they play the Isotopes on the road. He will travel with the team to do that. Arrighetti is still recovering from a forearm strain, and neither Garcia nor McCullers are expected to come back after the All-Star break. Gilbert's asking MRI. Well, it says examination. I'm pretty sure that's an MRI, and I'm pretty sure that's where they got the diagnosis of the elbow inflammation. So with that being said, that is what then jettisoned this move, and everybody wondered if Framber Valdez was going to go on the IL. Everybody was like, well, is this other guy that they just had up, is he the guy that's going to replace him? And I think last time on the show, we covered that Blair was not the guy, that Blair Henley was not the guy that was going to replace him. He was obviously sent back right after the game, and he came up because they needed him. Arrighetti was not in a position to come up and start that soon. He had started more recently, had been out, and so they've got to go with the days off and the days in between when they go to the minors. But one of the things earlier that I was tracking here on X was just moves happening and what was probably going to happen. And Chandler Rome he had talked about, this was 4 hours ago. A source told him that left-hander Parker Mashinsky is joining the Astros in Kansas City. Important to note that he had not been optioned long enough to be recalled without putting someone on the IL. So without putting someone on the IL meant they still were not sure about Framber Valdez 4 hours ago, from when I'm talking at 6:51 p.m., 9 minutes before the first pitch, that they didn't know at the time. And so I just basically reiterated that each player has to wait 15 days to come back up unless someone goes on the IL. So I've got to look at the Astros wire and see, while we are here live, what moves they did make for sure, because I don't know if Mashinsky came up also, if they brought, obviously Arrighetti is here, but let's see if there are anything in the game notes that they shared with the media today. Because we got Christian Javier going against Cole Regans. There is nothing. Let's see. It just mentions Blair Henley. There's nothing in there about Parker Mashinsky. Let me see if we have an official word here. And I'm kind of doing this on the fly. There's nothing here about Moosh. I'm going to look around and see what I can find while we're on here. If someone wants to help me look, I would love that. That would be great. That would be cool to help me out here since I'm flying solo tonight. But Spencer Arrighetti has been called up, and let's talk about the man of the hour right now. Arrighetti is a top pitching prospect for the Houston Astros in their minor league system. So he is scheduled to take the mound on Wednesday. That would push back France and Brown. Brown probably could stand another day rest, especially after his outing that he had last. It's not going to hurt them. And when Joe Espada was asked by the media about the rotation before Tuesday's game, this is what he said. As of right now, we're going to keep it as is and assess after tonight's game. Arrighetti did last pitch on April 4th, and he could be on full rest to make his debut on Wednesday. So that's when they project him to start on Wednesday. Wander Suero is the other guy bought. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Wander Suero is down there as well. Inflammation. So Gilbert's trying to help us out here. He said inflammation is soft tissue, either muscle or ligament. Hopefully UCL is not the cause of the inflammation. Yeah, we don't know, and I honestly do not know. We don't know if it's a Tommy John concern or not. I'm going to assume not, because we haven't heard that. Arrighetti, 24, has a 2.16 ERA in his first two starts in Sugar Land this year. He was named their minor league pitcher of the year in 23. Where he had a 4.40 ERA, 124 and 2/3 innings pitched between AA and AAA. Arrighetti is labeled the fourth best prospect before the season and is considered the team's best pitching prospect. He was a 6th rounder in 2021. Forrest Whitley, you could throw him out there, Joel, but Forrest Whitley has only thrown 17 pitches since coming back from his last injury that he had. And yes, Steve is right. He's still rehabbing. You're not going to put him out there early. Mr. Rashad says the bats picked up Henley. We need the same thing for Arrighetti, and everything else will take care of itself. Look, I think this team is going to hit his stride. I do not want to take Joe Espada's job. Moses, I appreciate the compliment, but there's no way that I would ever put myself on the same level as someone like Joe Espada. Yeah, man, live stream, dude. We're live 99% of our shows. And which reminds me, if we're talking about live stuff, I need to tell you guys and girls about Prize Picks, because look, I've been playing this and it is an absolute blast. So this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. So use the code LOCKEDONMLB for your first deposit match of up to $100. Download Prize Picks today. We know football season is over. We know March Madness has pretty much come to an end, but we are in high stakes basketball. We have the playoffs. We have the baseball season right in front of us, and the number one fantasy sports app has you covered. You can now win 100 times your money. You could turn $10 into $1,000. I think I said $100 last night. It's actually $1,000. NBA, NHL, and any sport in between. That's right. You can also pick alongside Prize Picks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Sugar Shane O'Malley. And you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in Prize Picks community each week. It even offers injury insurance so that entries stay in play, even if one of your players gets injured. So for basketball games, you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second. That player projection won't count against you. and the rest of your team, the rest of your entry, stays alive. Quick withdrawals and easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the number one daily fantasy sports app. So make sure that you check out the Prize Picks discount select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Players and stats types you're selecting, highlight your winnings for Prize Picks. Have fun and download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. A $100 match first deposit with the code LOCKEDONMLB. So I'm going to tell you this. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks. And guys and girls, thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. If you haven't done so, tune into Locked On Sports Today. That is where you get a 24/7 coverage of all things, all news stories with all your local experts like myself and Eric and people from around the country to cover all the sports. And so, look, let's talk about this. Pushing back JP France, pushing back Hunter Brown. I'm not necessarily worried about France. I'm more worried about Brown. Brown had a really bad outing this last go. He looked to be throwing a little bit of BP. His location was meaty. It was like a big tomahawk steak from Perry's Steakhouse. I mean, they were licking their chops and they were just they were crushing it like you would crush a half price pork chop at Perry's. I mean, they were just feasting at the feet of Hunter Brown, and pushing back Hunter Brown another day is not a bad thing. You go into Kansas City where they have one of the best pitching staffs. So you know you're not going to probably score a ton of runs. This offense still has a chance to break out every game they play, but that means your pitchers have got to be on the ball. Your pitchers have got to be with it because they've got guys like Bobby Witt Jr., they got Mendenhall, they've got several players out there that can swing the bat. But I'm more worried about their pitching and what they oppose on the pitching mound than what they oppose hitting from top to bottom. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. is an absolute monster, and you want to go out there and win these games. It would be great to go to Kansas City and get 2 of 3 before coming home to reface your division rivals for its 7th time in this early season. MLB, I think you got that wrong, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, and you've got to. I'm glad Spencer Arrighetti is getting the call up. I will post up. I don't think I've ever posted my 5-minute interview I had with Arrighetti in February before spring training started, but I'll go ahead and put that up later on just as a bonus episode, and you guys can watch that. Several questions from myself, Ari Alexander from KPRC, I believe Joel Gleason from ABC 13. You had Alonzo from Full Steam Ahead Podcast asking questions too. Matthew, let me get to your question here. What are you saying? Do you think we could lose Bielak this year? He's out of minor league options, but he's been pretty useful the last. Look, if he's not on this roster permanently for the rest of the year, and then they don't want to sign him to a contract when he's done, he's gone. And Bielak has provided some vital innings. And he's just that guy that's almost there. Like he's right on the cusp. And he just hasn't gotten there all the way consistently. He's got stuff. He's got the work ethic. He was the first player I ever interviewed back in 2019. And I was impressed with his mentality. I was impressed with his work ethic and his story, Notre Dame. Not necessarily highly recruited. And that's what you'll notice about a lot of guys that are pro baseball players that are in, whether they're single A, double A, or triple A. They weren't all sought after recruits. They weren't all top of their league or the most sought after. I mean, Ronel Blanco, didn't even get discovered till late in life. Mike Hampton, I found out, didn't even throw hardly any in high school. He didn't throw very much in college because of an injury and got drafted and ended up having a 19-year career in the major leagues, and yet he wasn't highly touted. He wasn't a first-round selection. But Spencer Arrighetti, there's been a lot of hype about. And Spencer Arrighetti, when he gets in there, he's got to realize he's facing future monsters or current monsters like Bobby Witt Jr. He's got to stick to his game plan. He's got to hope that his ball is moving. He's been working on pitches, and I think he is the guy that is ready for the job. With Garrett Cole, we talked about injuries. Garrett Cole may be looking at Tommy John, and there is, and I'm not saying he's getting Tommy John, so do not quote me on the show saying that. I'm just saying he's been out a while. You've got Garrett Cole that's gone down. You've got Spencer Strider, Tommy John. Shane Bieber off to a great start, Tommy John. Johnny Loizaga, one of the best relievers in that Yankee bullpen, Tommy John. Framber Valdez, elbow inflammation. Luis Garcia last year, Tommy John. But I don't think this has anything to do with the pitch clock, guys. Look at the track record of these Tommy John surgeries. The rash of Tommy John surgeries has jumped in the last 10 years. The pitch clock's only been here 2 seasons. Oh, well, there we go. We got the balloons. I think I found the sign that brings up the balloons. No, and it doesn't do it. Gosh, dang it. This iOS system kind of bugs me. Apple, can we just remove the effects? I like this one. This is why you've got to not just listen, but yeah, let's go. Yeah, rock on. See, that's why you've got to, if you're listening, you got to come watch because we got some cool, interactive, high-tech stuff. Okay. I got sidetracked. Sorry, squirrel. My bad. I'll focus again. But what we have to look at is not just, it's not a pitch clock thing. It's these guys being forced to throw with high velocity. Mike Stanton told me the other day that whenever he coaches young athletes, young pitchers, they want to know how hard they're throwing. He was like, I don't know. I don't worry about velocity. It's not velocity that gets guys out. It's placement of the ball and ball movement. That's what it gets them out. Because you know what happens to Aroldis Chapman when he throws 101 over the middle of the plate to Jose Altuve? It's a home run. You know what happens when Josh Hader leaves a slider over the plate or throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball over the plate and someone like Juan Soto's at the plate? They hit it far. So it's not about velo. It's about location, location, location. Spencer Arrighetti, if he gets his location right, and these pitchers get their location right, Hunter Brown, you're going to see a lot more swings and misses. That's what has to happen. But this Tommy John surgeries has got to do something with the construction of the baseball, the taking out the substances that they used, because right now, Mike Stanton even told me he used rosin and pine tar. Tyler Glasnow, we know, used sunscreen and rosin. I mean, they've got to get a grip on the ball, and Mike and them used this stuff before the balls were constructed the way they were. And if you go back and watch the Justin Verlander interview in the press conference that I was able to sit in with him and listen to what he said to Ari Alexander. Great question. I love Ari. He's becoming one of my favorite guys, news guys in the city of Houston. If you don't watch KPRC Channel 2, their sports coverage is phenomenal. Ari does a great job as a gentleman. He's always nice. He's always willing to answer my questions. Him and Randy have just been awesome. I'm just big fans of theirs, not just personally, but on the TV and the way they carry themselves. But JV talked about it's a multifaceted issue, and we almost have to dial back the clock, but I don't know how we do it. Okay, yeah, so Mushinski was called back to the pen, and he is, but I believe he's back because the IL stint for Framber Valdez, because he's within his 15 days. Oh, and so was Suaro. Okay, so there are other moves that I'm not aware of right now, and I'm sorry. Look, we're locked on Astros with your team every day. I try to get to everything, but I don't know that I know it all. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Folks, look, we've got a baseball game that's starting. And if you're listening to this, it is literally, it's 1-0 Astros in the top of the second. I didn't even realize that. The game already started. Yonder Diaz hit into a fielder's choice. Kyle Tucker was out. Yordan Alvarez to third. And Jose Altuve scored. Okay, there you go. The Astros start off with a bang. You had Altuve single, Yordan single, Tucker single, then Bregman popped out, and then the fielder's choice, and then Chas McCormick struck out. So the Astros are winning 1-0. You're listening to the game on iHeart, and they just said it. Well, there you go. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank y'all for supporting Locked on Astros. Hey, we are almost at 11,000. We are literally less than 10 away. We need to get there. Let me just tell you the exact number count. And I know some of you are like, I don't care about your numbers, man. No, we're almost at 11,100. We're at 11,099 subscribers. If we have right now 57 on, I want to see 57 likes. And thank y'all so much for tuning in to Locked On Astros. This has been a quick break-in podcast to let you know that Mr. Spaghetti himself, Spencer Arrighetti, has been called up to the big leagues. Congratulations, sir, and good luck on Wednesday. Y'all have a good one. And as we always say, go. Okay, it's more royal, but let's go. Don't forget, after the game tonight, another podcast.